Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Thursday. It is Things to Think on Thursday. And I have a good subject for today. Finally getting to it. How much is social media responsible when it comes to children, teenagers, and basically people? We'll see. We shall see. But first, while I wait for people to come on, so you're just not staring at me, I am going to, what do you call it? I'm just going to pull some, just guidance cards. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing, just guidance cards. Oh, my shuffling skills are nil today. So, how is everybody on this fine Thursday? Oh my goodness. All the things are happening right now. All the things. So, all right, let's see. There we go. Okay. Let's just pull from the top, eh? Let's see. Number 1, life is good if you allow it. Life is good if you allow it. I know where people probably sit there because I actually wrote that. And I wrote it in a time when, you kind of need that extra boost. Good morning, Lori. So life is good if you allow it. And what that means is that you have to choose to allow life to be good. Good morning, baby sibling. You have to choose happy. You have to choose, joy. You have to choose to let life be good. And I know sometimes it's hard. We might struggle. We might have this, that anchor of dread that tries to hold you back. But sometimes we have to pull and pull and pull, right? Until we're able to break free from it. So don't give up on yourself. Let's see. What's the next one? Start each day with a grateful heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Start each day with gratitude. I'm so happy and grateful for another day. So baby sibling says she was just making a video for a reel talking about choices. And exactly. So see, that's her validation. But life, how we feel is truly a choice. How we feel is truly a choice. Things may happen to us that suck. Things may happen to us that feel like they're going to break us. Things may happen to us that literally feel like an elephant sitting on top of you. And I love elephants, but let's admit, they're big. So, that's why I think we use that one. Or the elephant in the room, right? So big you cannot see it. And I think the point with that is that it's how you respond. It's, you're welcome, baby sibling. It's how you respond to things that happen to you. It's how you react. You can react calmly, or you can react, and get upset. And, actions have consequences, right? So, sorry guys, I forgot to put on my earrings. I was having a chit chat with the older sibling this morning, and I ran a little behind, so I am only half together right now. So, good Lord. It's one of those days, right? Who doesn't love watching me get dressed? Just kidding. But yeah, so choices, right? And start each day with a grateful heart. Even if you are feeling like shit, even if you are feeling like you just cannot, start each day with gratitude. Gratitude, your attitude. It may not happen like that, but the more you start to see what you have, and the more you start to see what's around you and how to appreciate it, it's going to start probably bringing up your vibe. Or, it might even change it just enough to where good things start to roll back into your life, right? Where you start to feel like, okay, I'm getting my footing. But you should also take pride in the fact that you are trying, that you're not giving up on yourself. Okay, I know that's the hardest feeling in the world sometimes, and sometimes it feels so easy to just say, I'm done. I cannot. But, and sometimes we do that. Sometimes we need that break to say, I cannot. There are a lot of times when I'll post something that just says, nope, because it's just not going to be one of those days. But that doesn't mean I'm not trying to, ramp up my vibe. That doesn't mean that I'm not trying to change my vibration, to feel better, to feel happier. A lot of times when I write those, I do some heavy, hardcore journaling to try to get to the bottom of things. I mean, yesterday during the perspective, I mean, we saw how I worked through something in my life that has been bothering me for so long, and I made it through. And it's like, wow, there it was. The answer was right in front of me this whole time. So no matter how, here we go. No matter how hard it gets, just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Right? Like Dory, just keep swimming. So these are all kind of going together, right? Life is good if you allow it. Start with a grateful heart. When it gets hard, just keep swimming. Anybody who's watched from the beginning will see that I shuffled these. So, it's just, the world is lucky to have you. The world is lucky to have you. And it is. Sometimes we feel so low about ourselves that we think we add no value or we add nothing to the world. But here's the thing. Even if you're not able to touch people, or even if you think you don't touch people on a grand scale, there could be that one person that you touch that should mean the world. Because you're helping them continue with their purpose. You're helping them continue on their path. And that's what's important, is to help other people continue on their path as well. And, that also goes along with your own healing. Because maybe you heard, somebody say something and you're like, whoa, that resonates. So just keep going, okay? Let's see. That one was a coffee. But first, coffee. Yeah, coffee's a good thing. There you go. Okay, so if you're not feeling all that sharp and all that fresh and all that, if you're feeling kind of on the icky side, take a deep breath, or 3, and then straighten your crown. Okay, I'm going to end on that one. Straighten your damn crown. Because you deserve it. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel joy. And as hard as it can be, you have to allow it. You have to make those choices. When I was discussing yesterday about one of the things I was going through, I wasn't choosing to feel that way. But because I was choosing to be happy, I was choosing to wanting to feel better and, to understand what was happening, I had to work through it. And sometimes that's what holds us back, is a lot of times we don't want to work through it. We don't want to do that hard work because it is scary. And it can be extremely hard. But think of it as like an endurance test, right? And how great you feel when you're at the end of it. When you've reached that finish line, you're like, wow. And you look back and you're all, holy crap, I did that. Maybe I had someone handing me water along the way, which could be, a metaphor for, people helping me or just, pushing me to keep going. You had that cheering squad, but ultimately you had to do the work. Having a cheering squad, having people hand you water, that doesn't mean you're going to finish. You are the one that allows you to finish. You are the one that gets you to the finish line. And that's what you have to remember. It's like I talked about the other day. You are the single most important relationship you are ever going to have in your entire life. Because you are with you 24/7, 365/66, depending on the year, days a year. Okay? You are constantly with yourself. All right? So, let's get to today's subject. Finally, here we are. The one I was meaning to talk about on Monday, and then Tuesday. Now today. Last weekend, sibling was watching the news, and while I was making my dinner, I overheard a little bit of it, and she just kind of shouted from the living room, we're roommates, that, hey, this might be a good subject for your perspective. And I thought, okay, and what is it? And they were basically just interviewing teens and depression and suicide and all these different things. One thing I just learned the other day while watching the TV show 911, when one of the characters was going through postpartum. Turns out there is a thing that's not just postpartum depression, but it's something that latches on to postpartum thyroid issues, which can really throw you even into the deeper end. It was kind of a quick schooling in that, so I'm sure there's much more to it. But at the end of the episode, they do those PSAs, right? Where it's kind of like, let me tell you about this and the number that you can call. I have, just so you know, I'm going to say this now, in case you need it. ShelBellintheMoment.com. There is a tab, important numbers, or helpful sites, or I can't remember what I labeled it because I've changed it a couple times. There are links there with phone numbers. It's for the US, the UK, and I think I might have another one in there. I have LGBTQ links that are provided from my friend Jason. And, there's also, if you belong to a certain carrier, you can text a number, and that will put you through to somebody. If you are feeling low, if you're feeling deep, and too far within yourself that you need someone to throw you a rope, please, please, please do not be afraid to call these numbers. I had a friend once that told me about it. They actually had to pull to the side of the road because her anxiety was so horrible. And they had to call. And they said, it was helpful. It was helpful enough to get me home to my support people, which was his family. And I had never known anybody until that day that had ever used these. But he said it was so helpful, and they were so kind. They were so non-judgmental. He said it was nice to have somebody listen. And, that goes for the same, you can tell when people are just throwing it out there for attention. And believe it or not, people do that. Some people use their mental health as a weapon. They weaponize their mental health because they don't know how else to get attention. And, it's hard because you really want to help people. You really want to be there for people. Some people we're just not going to be able to help. But the ones that we can, don't turn them away. Okay? Use your spidey instincts. You'll know. And even if it's the first time, and, whether you think they're trying to get attention or not, and, you don't know their perceived behavior, be there for them. Listen. Because maybe they don't have anyone that listens. Maybe they don't have anyone who will sit down and not just, not judge them. Right. They'll just be like, oh God, you again? So, do what you think is right. Okay. But what the subject is about today, I needed to put that disclaimer in there, guys, because this is going to be an interesting subject. And the reason I say that is because, the stat I was talking about at the end of that show was I found out for every person that takes their life, 316 people at that same moment are contemplating suicide. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, but 316 people, and that's just the people they surveyed, right? That's just the people in the statistics. And what older sibling brought in as an interesting comment was, but I wonder how many people go through with that, follow through on their thoughts. Or she said, I wonder how many of those were attempted. Good morning, older sibling. So, and she'll sit there, and she's like, well, yeah, but I wonder if that includes people that just thought about it or people that also attempted it. She wanted to go farther in the statistics, which I thought was great because that's true. What are those numbers? And so, it's a scary number. I mean, just think if 10 people take their life, that's like, 31,600 people, if my math is right, contemplating it. That's a lot. That's a lot. Or maybe 3,100, sorry. My math. That would be like just over 3,000 people contemplating that. If 10 people took their lives. That's a lot of people. 3,000 adds up fast. One person versus 316 adds up fast. Which kind of leads me into what I want to talk about today. Social media. How responsible is social media in regards to the well-being of the children, the well-being of the teenagers. And I'm going to add adults. Okay, I'm going to add adults to this because there are some adults who just, we've all been there, we've all done that, and we've all felt inadequate in some way or another when scrolling. I mean, maybe not all of us at the same time, but there are some people that just consistently feel this way, like they're just not good enough. And so in California, I did make notes for this, but in California, a new assembly bill being introduced would put big tech companies on the hook of children getting addicted to the technology and who, wait, oh my goodness, my reading skills today. A new assembly bill being introduced in California would put big tech companies on the hook if children get addicted to the technology and experience side effects like depression or suicide. I added to that, suicide is not a side effect. Suicide is very permanent. Okay, if they succeed, and a lot of times they do. So that's the big end, right? That is the highlighted what could go wrong. So the bill would establish that companies running big social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, so basically they're singling out Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, would have a duty not to addict children. Violating that duty could open them to lawsuits. According to Ed Howard, senior counsel at Children's Advocacy Institute at the University of San Diego, the algorithms play into it. The rewards you get when you stay on, like a badge or something like that. It's all designed to keep our kids online as long as they can be online. So Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, did not comment on the bill, but said in its own survey done, 8 out of 10 U.S. teens who use Instagram said it either made them feel better about themselves or had no effect at all. They also announced, my writing, they also announced the Family Center on Instagram, which is apparently a place for supervision tools to be accessed. Now, a while ago, baby sibling actually had me watch The Social Dilemma. So the older sibling and I sat down. And there are former employees of all different social media platforms on there, not just Facebook or Instagram, that attest to the behaviors that, that even whistleblower Frances Haugen, former Facebook employee, spoke about. But here's the big question. Is social media only to blame? So I reached out to my resident parental expert, baby sibling, who has a 10 and an 8-year-old. Okay, they're both going to be 11 and 9 this year. But 10 and 8, all right, they're at this age now where some people do get into social media. I mean, they're really only allowed on TikTok and YouTube. Okay, now you might think TikTok, but TikTok does have some good stuff on there. And it has some very educational, well, I don't want to say educational, but very motivational stuff on there. And she said, no, it's not only up to social media. But, what? Why is she laughing? Why are you laughing? But, yeah, but she gave me a resounding no. However, what's interesting is I did not read her my notes, but even she brought up algorithms, and algorithms are true. Okay. Okay. So here's the deal. I literally bought some prebiotic, probiotic stuff. And I guarantee you, when I open up Facebook later today, it's going to be advertising the same type of product, maybe not the same product, but the same type of product in there, because the algorithms, they all meet. They're like one big scary AI family, and, oh, she's laughing because her kids, they love watching cooking videos. Some of the cooking TikToks are hilarious. Okay. But some of them are so educational. Even I like them. Even Snapchat every so often has these cooking things like, cooking hacks. And it's like, wow, it's amazing. But the reason I asked her was because I'm not defending social media in any way, shape, or form. Okay. But here's the deal. It's here to stay. we have a responsibility as humans to not feed into everything. I mean, without social media, there's no cancel culture. And I swear to God, it seems like every week somebody's getting canceled. You know, back in my day, people say, well, you just tolerated it back then. No, we didn't tolerate it. We just stopped paying attention to them. We didn't try to bring them down, because you're not going to convince everybody that this particular person is a bad person. All you're doing is creating fights amongst one another. What you're doing and what you're saying to defend people is probably never going to reach them. It might, on occasion. But we need, instead of policing the world, we need to learn how to police ourselves. It's kind of like in those guidance cards that I talked about, where you choose how you react. I mean, there was a lot of controversy going on this week. I chose to not partake because I know how I feel inside. I know what I would do inside. I know, what's important to me inside, and how, just all different emotions. But if you blink wrong on social media, people are going to call you out for it. Some people, like I've seen articles with celebrities, how you deal with trolls. I just don't read their stuff. If it starts to look negative, I let it go. I had somebody follow me this week with one follower, no picture in their thing. And it was because I just retweeted something. It wasn't political, but it was a government type of thing. And I got a little suspicious, because the last time somebody followed me with no picture and a certain group of people that they followed, every time I posted something, I got trolled. I got called a fucking idiot. I got called a fucking loser, sheep. Now, people that call people sheep, you might want to think about that for a second. And I know people who call people sheep. All right? And, but think about it. Why are we calling people sheep? Because they don't agree with what we think? Because they don't agree with our opinions? I mean, I've clapped back when I've been called that. I said, how do you know you're not the one? And then you got to sit there and go, you know what? We need to change the subject before it gets bad. And sometimes it's the best thing to do, is agree to disagree. But I'm not ashamed of the fact that I blocked this person, because I don't need to be trolled. Okay? I don't. And it's not that I'm ignoring, having a healthy conversation with someone. Some people don't know how to have healthy conversations. All they know how to do is berate people and pull people down. And maybe it's because they're so sad, right? It was like that show I think I mentioned it, The Social Dilemma, that baby sibling told me to watch. I mean, it was terrifying in the most realistic way, because you start looking at your own habits like, oh my God, how addicted am I to social media? On Monday, I was so frazzled, but I knew that if I did not lock up my phone, I was going to scroll. And I was already in this place where I was trying to understand my own emotions. And, for people that might be new or just tuning in for the first time, the other day I talked about how I've been struggling with this new chapter in my life, because I've let go of my past, but I did not give myself permission to move on from it. And I know that may not make sense to a lot of people. I do cover it a lot, but that's kind of the abridged version of it. I had to give myself permission to move forward. And I had to understand that sometimes what I consider to be this dead and numb feeling inside is just contentment. Now, I know you're thinking, how does dead and numb feel like contentment? But I've always had that anchor of dread because of the trauma from my past. That when I didn't have it anymore, I was looking for a feeling to replace it, instead of just realizing, am I happy? Well, I'm not sad. So this must be what contentment feels like. Just balance. Just no emotions across the board. I mean, it doesn't mean I don't feel, because when I watch a commercial or I watch a show, I find myself laughing. Right? So that means I'm not dead inside. It means I'm sitting there going, oh. But when I say I locked up my phone, in the Social Dilemma, they actually have this container. and you set a timer on it, and literally the only way you can get anything out of this timer or out of this timed box is to break it open. Now, I'm not sure if you took the batteries out, how that would work. I might experiment with that today on a 2-minute lockdown and see what happens with that. But if I remember to do it today, I'll get back to you on it. But I locked my phone up for 8.5 hours. So basically, I did not get my phone back till about 7 o'clock Monday night. And it was hard not playing my games. But I have to tell you, I realized in that time that a lot of times when I pick up my phone, or I find myself scrolling, or I find myself reading articles, or even playing my games, that I'm ignoring something that I need to take care of. And granted, I spent most of that time just vegging in front of the TV, but internally, I actually even think I fell asleep at one point. I was just so emotionally exhausted. But in that time, everything started to work itself out in my head. I really had to kind of face these emotions. I had to face these things. And it's not until several days later that it's finally hitting me that I was actually on the process of healing, or in the process of healing, but on the road to that self-discovery that came out yesterday in the self-care vibe, or the self-care perspective. And I realized how much social media does affect me. Now, what I found interesting was their stat that 8 out of 10 teens who use Instagram said it either made them feel better about themselves or had no effect at all. Okay, now, we saw how fabulous my math was earlier. Sorry, I was thinking 100 in my head, even though I only said 10. And I know that's not an excuse because I cannot turn back time. But it was, if 10 people took their lives, 3,160 people are thinking about it. Now, on this one, it's 8 out of 10 U.S. teens. Baby Sibling and I both agreed. It's a good number, but it's not a great number. That's only 80% of the people. Now, according to some things that you read, there are millions and millions and millions of people, maybe even in the billions, considering how many people walk this planet, who are on social media. Billions. Okay, we're just going to stick with billions. That 20% is huge if you go by those numbers. If you put 20 kids in a room, 4 of them feel terrible when viewing social media. 4 of them. 16 may feel great about themselves or not be affected at all, but 4 of them. And that's when we both agreed that it's not just social media's responsibility. It's also a parent's responsibility. And that's why I reached out to her, because I'm not a parent. I'm an auntie, and God knows I would defend them like they were my own children. I would defend my siblings and my dad and my family and friends like they are my own children, with that kind of ferocity. But I also noticed that there are some parents who just, it's like, yeah, okay, here you go, because they want to be their child's best friend. If you want to be your child's best friend, you need to be their parent first. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen what happens. I've seen what happens when a parent doesn't parent. And then their child is left to figure it out all on their own. And in this day and age, that's not very good, because we do have social media to contend with. Now, granted, my nephews go on YouTube and they go on TikTok, yes. And even Baby Sibling says, I'm not able to watch them 100% of the time. But I hope it's okay to share this. And I'm not going to say which one. One of them likes to police the other. They're boys. They're brothers. And they're close enough in age where they're going to do anything to take each other down. Not in a bad way. But they do like to tell on them. Because, one feels like the prim and proper one, and the other one loves to push the limits. I know. I giggle just thinking about the two of them, because I've seen it in action. But here's the thing. As an adult, okay, not just a parent, but as an adult, we are responsible. I mean, if you're watching kids, you're responsible for them in that time that they are with you. So one thing we need to point out is that, and I think that is very important, especially if you're contemplating letting your child have I would say a secure account. And by that I mean, I had a friend whose daughter was on Instagram, but she insisted on being her daughter's friend or following each other on Instagram. And the reason she did that is because she wanted to see all the people that were following her. They would go over it, I think, like once or twice a week. But she let her have it because her and her friends and wanting to share things, their little adventures. And I think she was about 11 or maybe 12 at the time. But it's also kind of scary because when you give a child a phone, maybe for safety reasons, I'm not going to tell people what age is the right age. Everybody has their own idea on when the right age is. And I'm not here to be the one to say, oh, I think that's too young. I think that's too old. That's your choice. That is your choice. But you're not going to see what they're doing 24/7, right? Although I think you can on certain devices connect the phones. I think iPhones you can connect the phones. But here's the thing. If they're going to be on social media, we have to remind them that I would say 8 out of the 10 people, okay, I'm just going to use their stat. I don't even know if it's a real stat or not. Let's just say the majority of the people aren't always posting the truth. They're making themselves look Insta fabulous, Facebook fabulous, Twitter fabulous. What's one of the things I do like about Twitter? Even though I've seen some verbal brawls happen on there, I just steer clear. I post a lot of positive stuff. I post a lot of mental health advocacy stuff. I post a lot of nonsense because Twitter is the one place where most of the people that follow me and that I follow, we don't personally know each other. We just know each other online. And I have developed some friendships online that of people I've never actually physically met, but I have talked to maybe on FaceTime or in texting. But it's probably one of the more honest places. And I think it's because you're given 240 characters to basically just spew your mind. And that's one of the things I like about Twitter is because I don't know that many people there, I just go there. That's where I'm absolutely ridiculous. Like, I'll just say stupid things, my most stupid thoughts. Sometimes they don't even make sense and people are like, who the fuck is this person? Why are they so dumb? A lot of times I'll put it there because I don't want my family to worry. Because I don't want them to be like, oh, or I can be a little more honest there because everybody on my Facebook are people I know. Or that are our family, extended family. But that I have some sort of relationship with, or even had one when I was a child and grew up with around certain family members. But the majority of them on Facebook, I don't accept people I don't know. Only because it's my safe space. But sometimes even your safe space is not your safe space. Sometimes you might say something on there and people will be like, seriously? I've had people get into fights in my comments or arguments in my comments. And I've just thought, you know what? I don't want this on my page because it can sit there for 6 days. And if somebody likes it, it goes right back to the top and it starts all over again. So a lot of times I'll just have this very curious thought and I have to delete it. And it's not because I'm trying to keep it Facebook fabulous. It's because I need to keep my brain in check. I need to do what's best for me when it comes to my social media. And that's why I steer clear from a lot of certain things. That's why I steer clear a lot of times from political talk with people. I don't know enough about politics to really be political. I know enough and I know my opinions. But I also don't feel like forcing them on other people. And that doesn't mean, okay, I don't want to say forcing. Okay, because I don't know enough and because I'm not as informed as other people who do post politics, I try to steer clear because I can't argue my way out of certain things. Not that I would want to argue my way out, but I can't debate them either. But I do like when I see other people having a good political conversation where they share it with one another, where they talk to one another. And I don't begrudge anybody sharing their feelings or thoughts, their political things. I don't mind. One of the reasons I blocked that person is because I saw who they followed. And it surprisingly came after I posted an opposing view. I retweeted an opposing view, and it wasn't really an opposing view, but for far either side, if you post anything that does not agree to either side's far sides, you're going to get trolled. And I knew that's what was happening because it had happened to me before several times. And I thought, I even had somebody that I blocked and they had another account and came back and said, oh, so you're blocking me now. And it's like, I'm going to keep blocking you until you get out of my space. Because you don't bring anything positive to the table. You just bring anger. And you bring hate. And I'm not buying that. Okay? I'm trying to spread positivity and love in this world. And, we have the opportunity to use social media for that. It's almost like you hear that proverbial battle between good and evil, right? It feels like it happens on social media. But then again, circling back, you put 20 kids in a room, 4 of them don't feel good about themselves. Now let's go to the extreme. Okay, what if 2 of those kids decided, I'm going to take my own life, and they do? Okay, so you have 2 that don't feel good about themselves, and now you have 2 that are gone. And for those 2, 632 people have just thought about taking their life, have just contemplated suicide. Right? So we think those 2 don't matter. We think that just because it's at 80%, it's okay. That 20% is who we need to worry about. They're the ones with the dinged up mental health. They're the ones with the low self-esteem. They're the ones who have so much pain inside or so much, low self-confidence that they could become that statistic. So again, I think I did my math right. 316, 630, yeah, okay, 632. But remember, you have 20 kids in a room. 16 are like, yep, not affected, or ooh, it made me feel better about myself. And 4, not so much. And now we've added our own little scenario in here where 2 have just chosen to take their life. And again, if you go back to that earlier stat where for every person that takes their life, at the same time, 316 people are contemplating suicide, you now have 632 people who are contemplating that. And while I don't have a statistic on it, I'm going to go back to what I said about older sibling, her comment, but how many of those actually go through with it? And we don't have that number. I don't have that number. I couldn't find that number. But it's a very good thought. Out of those 316 to 1, how many do go through with it? And that cycle continues and continues and continues. So see, baby sibling says when Landon starts middle school, he's going to get a phone, and she says, yep, she can watch it all. And that's what I love. We always sit there and say, well, I don't want to police my children. They're your children. Okay, they are your responsibility until they are 18 years old. We always think, well, I don't want to overstep, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do that because I don't want my children to hate me. Your children are not going to hate you. Are they going to say they hate you from time to time? Fuck yeah. I can't tell you how many times under my breath I said to my parents, I hate you. But then because I'm paranoid and thought, what if something happens to them? I immediately take it back. Like, no. I love them. I love them. I love them. Just mad right now. Because I do get paranoid. And I don't want those to be the last things that they hear if something bad did happen. I don't want those to be the last thoughts in my head if something bad did happen. My dad and I, years and years ago, got into a huge fight to the point where I left and drove home. And my home is not close. My home is like an hour and a half away. And I have to tell you, I kept wanting to call him and say, I'm sorry. I do think it's better that I went home because I don't want to fight with you. And we were very tense at that moment. And, but I didn't. And the whole time I kept thinking, what if something bad happens? You know, what if, you know, we both worked ourselves up into such a tizzy that one of us, you know, just passed out and or maybe I got into an accident, or, you know, my dad had a medical emergency. When I got home, the first thing I did was text him. And apparently he was so worried too that he didn't go to sleep right away. He couldn't sleep because he was worried about me driving home. And we apologized to one another. And then while I was sitting at home trying to go to sleep that night, I thought, that is the stupidest fucking thing ever. You know, sometimes we have to be the bigger person, even if we're right, because it's not worth it. You know, this is when my dad and I sit there and go, you know what? We need to agree to disagree because I don't want to fight with you. And I don't. I think sometimes when we have pain inside, we don't know how to express it. So we pick fights with people. We go out of our way to hurt people because if they fight back, it's a justification for being angry. You don't need to be justified to feel angry, but don't take it out on other people. Journal it out. Get a therapist. Exercise, okay? Join a gym and punch a bag. Okay, there's a reason people do that. It's not just to get stronger, and it's not just to learn self-defense. It's to get that anger out, that aggression out. That's why some people go running. You know, they run until they're exhausted sometimes, which is dangerous. But they do it to clear their head, to get all that anger out, and to not take it out on somebody else. Sometimes it's about dominance, because maybe they felt dominated in their life. I don't know. I'm not in the heads of all these different people who react different ways, but I am in my head. And I know that I would lash out at people or sometimes pick fights with older sibling, or maybe even my parents sometimes, because I was in so much pain. I was hurting so much. And I'm telling you right now, if social media had existed when I was younger, I'm not sure I'd be talking to you today. And that's a true fact. I don't. I can't tell you how many times I have literally contemplated suicide. I can't tell you how many times I have come this close to ending it. Actually, I can. 3 times. 3 times I came that close. And 3 times divine intervention stepped in. And I'm grateful for that. Whatever spirit guide is looking after me, thank you for constantly just not rolling your eyes and judging me, but for stepping in and making sure that I'm here today to talk to you. That's why this is so important to me. If you don't have a dinged up mental health and you are just, I just let things roll off my back, you're not always going to understand how important those 2 people out of 10 actually are. Because that's 8 out of 10 people. That's only 10 people interviewed. How many people were surveyed? That's what's important. What are the actual numbers on that? Right? I mean, if it's 1,000 people that were surveyed, what is that? About 200 people then? Please correct my math if you want. Okay, I'm good at basic math. All right, but math, not my strong suit. You know, I do see a lot of people that fight over politics, and that's okay. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm not here to judge. I actually like listening to people talk politics, and I'm not lying. It can get frustrating sometimes, but I like it because I learn. That's how I learn. When I read things, whether it's an opposing view to mine or the same view as mine, I read because that's how I learn things. That's how I get better at it. That's how I get smarter at it. Good morning, baby bear. But when it comes to social media and you see a stat like 8 out of 10, either feel good about themselves or are not affected at all. Stop and think about the remaining numbers. Stop and think about that remaining percentage, the 20%, those 2 people. And think about what I said. For one person, for every person that takes their life, 316 people are contemplating it, and then the unknown number of people that might actually go through with it. And again, you take those 2 people, and if they take their own lives, that's 632 people that are thinking about it at the same time. That's a heavy stat, and that's a big number. Because each one of those people is someone's loved one. Even if they don't realize that person cares, each one of those people is loved by somebody. They may feel at their most vulnerable. They may feel at their absolute lowest, but somebody loves them. And if you want to go past that, now you have an entire family, or at least an immediate family, or a loved one that's affected by this loss. Numbers aren't just numbers. Numbers are people. People have names. Statistics have names. What are the names of those 2 people? Will they make it? Will they learn to rise above? That's why I'm saying that, I did talk with baby sibling about this, because I'm not a parent. But when I'm around my nieces and nephews, well, I don't have that many nieces. People, you need to work on this shit. Seriously, I need more. I have a lot of boys in my family. A lot of boys in my family. But especially my nephews. And when I'm around them, I do what I can to build them up. I know I've shared this story before, but I see... Okay, you know what? I don't mean to bring this up a lot. But, girl. Okay, so Baby Bear says you can claim Anya. She's one of the 3 I was thinking of. That's right. One of the 3. Actually, 2. I can only think of 2. And one of them doesn't really call me Tia, or Tita. So, Anya's pretty much probably my only niece. Oh no, I did have 3. But the other, I see the others, so I believe it or not, I see my Tucson family more than I see the family that lives in California. But, no, girl, your babies are my niece and nephew also. I'm sorry whether they like it or not. But you know what, I'll take, so before I go into the example I wanted to share, I'm going to share about Anya. That girl is well-rounded, okay? She's gorgeous. Gorgeous. She's about to start high school. And she's one of those people that it's just like, I would bodyguard that child forever. But, I love them too. Absolutely, 100%. But she has goals. She has goals. And when she achieves the biggest one, I get to spend the night in the White House. But, just saying, that's right. But she has good parenting. She has excellent parenting. There were times when I could hear Baby Bear, reassuring her that there's nothing wrong with her. That some people are just mean. Right? I've heard Baby Sibling say the same thing to her boys. Because kids can be mean. And I'm not going to say that's always the parents' fault. It's not always the parents' fault. I've had friends who bullied me, whose parents absolutely loved me. And it's not a brag. It just means that, they were given all these things in their life. They were done this, that, or the other. But somewhere internally, they felt inadequate. So they felt they had to push it off, on their inadequacy onto somebody else and tear them down too. So it's not always the parents. Sometimes it's the child. But it's the parent's responsibility to believe somebody. Or at least question. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, tell your kid to knock it off. Oh no, my kid wouldn't do that. None of us wants to think our kids could do bad things. None of us. I get it. You know, when I was younger and I thought I was going to have kids, one of my biggest worries was, oh my God, what if my kid becomes a bully? Because I saw a movie, right, where the kid who was the one that bullied other people, his son became the one that was picked on by the son of the guy he used to bully. So I know it's like this weird thing, right? It's something to actually think about. It's a conversation we need to have. Baby Sibling and I know Baby Bear have taught their children how to respect other people. Don't worry about what they say. If you have an issue, come to me. Now, what I wanted to say earlier is that people say, well, I have this against me, I have that against me. Baby Sibling has been a widow for 2.5 years. And these kids, they have their emotions. They're allowed to express their emotions. They grieved openly together. You know, maybe Baby Sibling didn't always let them know when she was feeling horrible. But in those moments where she couldn't hide it and protect them from it, they grieved together. When they were feeling upset, you know, she wouldn't yell at them. She would sit them down and say, okay, what's going on with you? Or what's going on, bud? Until they finally opened up and said, I miss Dad. Because sometimes there is a seed that is sitting in there that wants to be nurtured or wants to grow, but it's stuck. It's trying to push its way out of that seed and become something amazing, but it doesn't know how. So it gets nurtured, it gets watered, it gets taken care of. It's allowed to be expressive. She told me, I mean, I think I mentioned this earlier, that the kids like to one of the kids likes to police the other one. So she doesn't really have to worry about them on social media, because if there's a swear word, Mom. But the other thing I wanted to share about that is I was in not the last time, but the time before, when I was visiting Baby Sibling, my younger nephew had a cold. So he couldn't go do this 5K that they were doing, a mud run. So we stayed home. And this to me is a testament of parenting. We sat there, and it's like, Auntie Shelly, do you want to play Legos? It's like, oh, Auntie Shelly sucks at Legos. And I did. And you know what? He corrected me. He's all, you're not bad at it. He's all, you just don't do it enough. Okay. You know, here's a what? He was probably 6 at the time. Almost 6. Or just turned 6. But here's a 6-year-old, basically, at the time, saying to me, you know what? Let me help you. Let me help you. And we built amazing things. Even Baby Sibling said that for the longest time, he wouldn't tear it apart. And when somebody almost did, he's like, no, Auntie Shelly made that. That warmed my heart. All I did was pile bricks on each other. Because I'm really not that good at it. But, I have these ideas in my head, but for some reason I can't make them connect with my hands. But he was nurturing. He was kind. He didn't get mad. In fact, when I would be looking for a piece, we ended up actually building this thing together. And he would dig through this huge storage container of Legos to find a tiny itty bitty piece, probably about the size of the globe. Right? For the right color. Here you go. And it felt good, because we were learning together. We were sharing together. We were building something together. You know? And that's parenting. I have been around other kids where it's just like, oh, well, never mind then. We'll go do something you know how to do. It's like, no. He wanted to play Legos, and he guided me through it. And I didn't mind playing Legos. I was just going to watch him build stuff. I'm like, yeah, hey, I'll watch you build stuff. He's like, well, build something with me. It's like, But we did something together. And it lasted a long time. And I'm proud of that moment. And I'm not proud of that moment because of anything I did. I'm proud of that moment because I saw Baby Sibling and who she's become. And not just because she's a widow, but the obstacles she had to overcome from her childhood to be the parent she wanted and to be the parent her children need, especially in times of crisis and in times of sadness. And, I hear her sometimes where she feels like she's falling short. She's not. We all have our moments where we break. And that's normal. But it's whether you choose to sit there forever or you choose to get back up where you fell that matters. And I know a lot of that may not seem like it ties into social media's responsibility to protect the children, but it does, because it's not just social media's responsibility to protect the children. It's a parent's responsibility. It's an aunt and uncle's responsibility. It's an older sibling's responsibility. We are a community. We're a tribe. We're a group of people who come together to nurture one another. At our family gatherings, when we're all together, it's carte blanche. If you're a child and you fuck up bad in front of an auntie or an uncle, you are going to probably get scolded. And it's not like, hey, so-and-so, your child is acting up. It's like, well, do something. It's no. You have the permission of the family because it's a community. It's a village. See, even Baby Bear. Marie's a phenomenal mother, and the proof of that is in those boys. They're growing up to be amazing young men. Yes, they are. And you know what, Baby Bear? You're a phenomenal mother, too. I see your babies. Anya doesn't have aspirations to be a president for no reason. I see how you build them up as well. Everybody has different circumstances. But the point is you both are doing a fabulous job with what you're given. With, the trials and tribulations that you have to go through, the ups and downs. I mean, like I said, I may not be a parent, but being an auntie's not easy. I can't even imagine what it's like to be a parent. That's some hard shit. That's 24/7. That's 24/7. And for all of you who are kids that are growing up that might be listening to this, your parents may be responsible for you until you're 18, but they're always going to be your mom and dad. They do need to set boundaries sometimes when you're an adult and, not tell you what to do all the time, but they're always going to worry about you because you're their baby. You're their child. They want nothing but the best for you. And sometimes, yes, they're going to overstep, but instead of getting mad, don't be afraid to sit down and talk to them and say, look, you know what? I'm an adult now. You're just going to have to live with my choices. And if you end up being right in the end, don't tell me I told you so. Just be there for me. Because I have to make my own mistakes. I have a friend who has a cousin who is 33 years old and a terrible tantrum thrower. And I feel bad saying that. But it's because they had a helicopter parent. Sometimes we protect people we love so much that we don't allow them to fall down and get hurt and figure out how to stand back up again. We don't teach them that when we're constantly putting that net underneath them. We're going to fall down in life. Our children may fall short every so often. But as long as you continue to love, encourage them, discipline them when necessary, you're going to give them the tools they need. And you're going to help them to understand that actions, good or bad, have consequences. Good actions have good consequences. Bad actions will probably have bad consequences. And this is the kind of stuff I love on social media. Baby sibling talking to Baby Bear, because that's how I know Baby Bear is through Baby Sibling. She says, "You're so sweet. Also, Shelly is right. I learned so much from watching you raise your children, your babies. Now they're inking. Oh, that's what we call crying. You made me ink. Yeah, not that kind of inking. The other, you made my eyes ink. But, I think that just kind of really, put the stamp on the community part. We're a community, we're a tribe. It is our responsibility to look out for one another. Maybe not to argue or fight, If you try to pick a fight with somebody and they don't respond, don't keep trying. Go internal. Go inside. What is bothering you that you're sitting here trying to pick a fight? Because you have to make your point. You have to be heard. Were you not listened to enough as a child? Were you brushed off a lot as a child? Sometimes that's it too. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's the smallest, weirdest things. right? I'm just going to reiterate what I talked about yesterday. Baby sibling asked me how I was feeling. I told her, I said, I feel numb and dead inside. While I was doing the perspective yesterday, going through the stress reduction essential cards and going through the self-care cards, I thought, holy shit, that's it. I'm not empty or numb. I just have never known what it's like to feel content and just exist in that moment, to just be balanced in that moment. Because I had always carried around that anchor of dread. Like I said, even when there were those super joyous moments, there was that underlying feeling, that weight in my stomach that was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I don't have that anymore because I chose to walk away. I chose to realize that I am not the same person I was even 6 months ago. I am constantly growing. I'm constantly learning about myself. And when I decided to make that statement that I'm in a new chapter of my life, I'm learning to walk again. I'm learning to walk. I'm learning emotions really all over again. The proper way to learn them, not the scared way, not the way when you're groomed that you're so frightened people will find out your secret. I am learning to feel things properly. So don't shame yourself. Don't worry about how old you are. Don't worry about, whether or not, you're where somebody else is. That person that you're worried about where they might be worried about the person that's in front of them and why they're not there. Just focus on your own life. Focus on you. Okay? And that does tie into the social media. We look at other people's pages like, wow, their life is so amazing. You don't know what it's like off of Facebook. Most people don't post their bad shit. Most people will not post the crap. Either because it's private or because they're afraid that people are going to think they're trying to get attention. Sometimes I struggle with posting mental health advocacy stuff because then all of a sudden people think there's something wrong with me. I will always put something in the captions. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. But not everybody reads the captions. You always have to sometimes sit there and think, why the fuck am I putting it in the subject line if no one's reading it? To which I will put in the comments, I put in the subject line, I'm okay. I'm doing fine. But I'm also very honest when I have a bad day. Because I can't advocate if I'm not honest. Not every day is a good day. Not every day is a bad day. Right? Sometimes days are just days. And that's what we have to learn. Being content is not a bad thing. Because, you're going to have sad feelings sometimes, you're going to have angry feelings sometimes, you're going to have happy feelings and joyous and ecstatic feelings sometimes. And sometimes you're just going to be like, okay, today's just a day. And it's a gift when you feel these beautiful things, when you're sitting there thinking, I'm so balanced, and then something funny happens on the TV and you're just laughing. I miss laughing. I've held myself back for too long. Because I think a part of me felt guilty about moving forward. I thought to myself, when I posted something on social media, how can I post something like this when I'm feeling good today? Because there's going to be people that do respond to this saying, oh God, I feel the same way. I feel this, that, and the other. But that's the point of advocacy, whatever you advocate for. Whether you've gone through it or not, whether you're going through it at the moment, or whether you're just coming out of something, this is why we advocate. Because even if you're feeling good, you know that you can tell somebody that might be standing right behind you feeling the crap that you just felt, hey, I made it through. And so can you. But it's just like Baby Sibling said on her reel under Marie Crum, Krumm. I'm on Instagram. 2010, Marie Crum 2010, I think it is. Right? I don't know. I just follow her. I don't look at them anymore. But she was posting about choices. And the very first card we had today What was it? Let me find it. Life is good if you allow it. Life is good if you allow it. All right. So when you think about these social media things and you see statistics that sit there and say 8 out of 10 people feel great or better about themselves or not affected. Let me go into that one for a second. When they say they feel great about themselves after, isn't it possible that they feel great about themselves after because maybe someone was a complete fuck up on there? Maybe somebody's going through a health journey, is not doing well, so they may think, whoa, I look in the mirror and I look so great. Everything has a story behind it. And I'm just going to reiterate that one thought that I had earlier. Okay, bringing up those statistics again. I'm going to finish with that because I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean for this to go so long. 8 out of 10 teenagers that were surveyed on Instagram said they felt better about themselves or not affected at all. That leaves 2 people. That's 20%. You put 20 kids in a room for that survey. 4 of those kids do not feel good about themselves. You know, maybe they are falling under the side effects of suicide or depression. And when I say that, that was in the line that the bill that they wanted to introduce in California that puts big tech companies on the hook of children getting addicted if children get addicted to the technology and experience side effects like depression or suicide. Okay, that's 4 kids now. And we'll list them as the potential side effects, right? So that's 4 children. 2 of them are depressed. 4 of them, are depressed. 2 of them commit suicide or take their lives. Sorry, I know. I'm still learning the new verbiage, okay? 2 of them take their lives. And what was the stat I talked about earlier? For every person that takes their life at that same moment, 316 people are contemplating suicide. So if those 2 kids, those 2 teenagers take their life, that's 632 people who are now thinking about it at the same time. You know, Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, may think that 20% is okay. Because, you know, that 80% is like, oh yeah, they're fine. I mean, obviously it's not their job to take care of everybody. It is. But it's not only their job. They're not the only ones responsible. Parents, the community, the village, the tribe, they're also responsible. Because that number from those 4 kids out of 20, or even just those 2 out of 10, the number behind them gets bigger. They take their life, 316 people are contemplating suicide at the same time. And on this side of the line is their family that they're leaving behind, wondering, what could I have done? And if it happens, I'm not blaming the parents. I'm not blaming the community. It's a very personal choice. I have known people who have taken their own lives, and all of us sitting there wondering, what could I have done? It's a very personal choice. And sometimes it will happen. And we can't always blame ourselves for that. Because, you know, sometimes there's just so much darkness that they feel there's only one way out. And I'm not going to judge that. I'm not going to judge a person that makes that personal choice. I'll pray for them. I'll send their family prayers and good juju and all that healing stuff. Not stuff, but healing light and all that. But I'll try to live my life better. Because I know I've been there. I've been one of the 316. And 3 times I almost became that one. And I don't want people to hurt behind me because of a choice I made. So, like I said, there's no judgments. There's no judgments at all. And I don't think we should judge other people. I don't think we should judge the people around them unless we know the full story. If you know the full story, you know the full story. But if you don't, the person I knew, they had a loving family. You know, it was a mom, a dad, and a kid. And it was the mom. And this person is truly one of the main reasons why I'm still alive today. And the fact that I'm probably too much of a chicken to actually go through with it. But I made that promise on that very day, or the next day I should say, when I was talking to older sibling. I made her that promise, and I made baby sibling that promise. And I'll tell you, the reason I didn't make that promise to myself is because I know I don't keep promises to myself. I'm constantly breaking promises to myself. So I knew that until I found myself, and until I was comfortable in my own skin and being who I am today, I had to make that promise to people that I love and I care about, that I would never break a promise to. And I know it made them nervous when I talked to them about it. And it was really that particular event that threw me into the hardest therapy I've ever done in my life. And I came out the other end. I found my way out of that tunnel. It took me several years. It took me 5 years. And that doesn't mean it's going to take everyone that long. I'm a resistor. I'm a stage 5 resistor. Okay, I am. If I were in Star Wars, I would have been on Luke Skywalker's team. That would have been whooping ass. Because I resist well. But when it comes to my mental health, not the brightest of moves. Because I think a lot of times we just don't want to think anything's wrong with us. We want to be that strong person. We want to be that powerful person. But you can be strong and powerful and help other people while still being vulnerable. That's what makes us human. Strong, powerful, and vulnerable. Self-acceptance, self-worth, all those things. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I know this was really long, so thank you for hanging in there. I know I reiterated a lot of things over and over again, and I think a lot of times when I do that, it's because I think it really needs to find a way to stick into somebody's head about it. You know, I mean, sometimes when you rattle things off a lot, people start to pay attention. And also sometimes it's just because more things start to pop up in my head. But anyways, thank you again for hanging in there, for watching. I will see everybody back here tomorrow. Tomorrow is Aloha Oracle Friday. It's going to be fun, right? No heavy subjects. Just fun, some spiritual fun. So if you're watching this later, you're watching this now, if you have something you need an answer for, put it out to your guides. Put it out to God. Put it out to the universe, whoever your source is. And hopefully when I tap in, you'll get your answer. Okay, it may not be specifically to you, but maybe one of the decks I pull, because I randomly pull them right before I start, whatever feels like the right day or right thing for that day. All right, so just put it out there. Hopefully you'll get an answer. I will see everybody tomorrow. I love you too, baby bear. Excuse me. I'll see everybody tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Pacific Daylight Time. Facebook Live. It is public. Anybody can watch, or I upload it later to YouTube. If you are someone who watches later on YouTube or Twitter, don't worry. Put it out there anyways, because it does not need to be live for you to get a response that you may need, or validation or guidance. All right. So again, have a great, great day. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Oh, love to you, my fans. You two know who you are. It's the only two I think are watching right now. But anyways, yeah, have a great day, guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow.